Hello and welcome on my channel. Today we're gonna talk about loot, inventory management, how to sell loot, and everything you need to know to play Ravaged maps effectively and spend more time playing and getting the loot rather than trading and thinking, oh, should I do this or should I do that, right? So this is only my perspective, my experience, what I, let's say, came up to after a few leagues of playing Ravaged maps. So yeah, so those are my best practices and I can share this with you, right? So in this chart we can see the loot distribution, right? We can see that majority of the loot is in the few items, so that's not a problem because yeah, we can sell stack decks either in game or on TFT. Divine orbs are just raw divine orbs. Sextants are also quite nice sellable, but here we can start the first tip, right? So actually you will get some compasses, but of course you can buy them, right? But when you have a sextants, you can decide, do you want to sell them in bulk or do you want to roll and sell compasses? Because with compasses you can also, let's say, sell them in bulk, right? So you don't need to sell one compass by one. When somebody pings you, you can just tell him, oh look, I have like few of those, right? Do you want to buy all? If not, goodbye. I'm gonna wait for someone to buy, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, right? If you have like those more expensive compass, like for 100C, then you can maybe do one trade or offer, okay, I have 3 of those, do you want more? And this will save you a lot of time, because the less trades you do, the more you play, the more money you have, and the bigger stacks of, each currency you have. So I wouldn't bother selling like, I don't know, 40 Orb of Regrets at this point, but in the beginning I'm always trying to sell in the largest bulk at the, let's say, optimal price. But some currencies, let's say, are more expensive if you sell them in smaller bulk, and some types of currency are more expensive when you sell them in a big bulk. So example of a big bulk is Scarab, example of a small bulk is perhaps Orb of Regret, right? So there are different things, but let's start with the chart again. So as you can see, most of our loot is sellable in, let's say, few trades, but what to do about the rest, right? And I think this video will be mostly about that. So, and about the items that aren't actually listed by Exilance Next, since they are, let's say, rare items or jewels or flasks or whatever. So yeah, so let's start with the leak start environment. So imagine that you don't have as much currency as I do now. You're just starting. You don't have enough oils to keep running maps. So basically, first you need to build, let's say, your wealth to keep going, right? Because if we look at the loot, we can see that it costs us little below 50 divines now to play 50 maps. And what we get back is 90 divines. And those numbers, let's say, mean a lot, because by spending 47 divines, you need to then sell 90 divines of loot. However, if half of your loot comes, let's say, is sellable in 5 trades, and actually not even that, because you can see like 1000 chaos out of, I believe, 90 divines, right? So it's like 5 divines you have in golden oils. 15 divines is in divine orbs. Then again you have 3 divines in silver oil. So I don't know, that's already like 20 divines of those 90 that you don't even need to touch, right? So then you need to sell stack decks for another 15 divines, and so on and so on. So it's not really that hard to get back those 47 divines to play another bunch of 50, and I wouldn't really bother trading anything, except maybe if you have already like, I don't know, orbs of fusing worth 1 divine, right? So, or you have like, I don't know, 200, 300 sextants, because early on sextants are cheaper. I would rather sell them later in the league, like in a week 2, right? Week 3 maybe. So this is also something important. And on the other hand, Orb of Regrets are, yeah, maybe worth more in the first week and second week, and I don't know, then they fall apart. But the big, let's say, the most important part is that you need to decide how much time you want to spend trading, and set the stacks. Like you see in here, I sell like 100, the chromatic orbs for 100C. That's my minimum threshold. If you look at divine trades, it's actually not feasible for me because you cannot do this in one trade. So I actually prefer to sell at a better price, because you will have more customers only willing to buy, as let's say 700 chromatics, than there are customers wanting to buy 2K of chromatics. So if they wanted to buy 2K, they would just say, hey, look, I want to buy it, right? And this goes for every type of currency, right? So you just settle for the, let's say, the bulk you are happy with. And the good tip is to always multiply your, let's say, your bulks by the stack, right? So I would always list my regrets as a multiplier of 40. I will always list my scorings as a multiplier of 30, because what you don't want to do is to think, oh, okay, he wants to buy 250 scours. Okay, how much is it? Ooh, I don't know, right? So another tip would be maybe, I don't know, maybe list it in a bulk of 150, or maybe keep 30 if you are happy with trading only 30. But you know, I would really set a bulk of multiplication, and the easier to remember, the better, right? So like stack of 10 is like a no-brainer, right? You only need to 300, then you sell, right? So that's the first thing. The same with regrets, right? So, but like I said, the regrets is the less, the more customers you will have. So right now I just listed it like that because I don't really care if I sell this. But if I wanted to sell it, maybe I could, I don't know. Oh, sorry, it's actually that way. So maybe I could offer more, right? And I lied to you because we're supposed to list it as a multiplication of 40. So yeah, so this is basically how to deal with currency, right? And the next step is currency trading. So you can see we have like orb of chances, and this is worth basically nothing, and I won't really be trading that. So what do? We travel to the Act 7. This is probably something that everyone knows, but instead of trading chances and Jeweller's orb, what you should do is you should, you know, exchange it to scours, exchange Jewellers to fusings, and then sell it, right? So that's also a thing that I do a lot, because orb of chances are pretty common drop in blighted maps, so you have a lot of scours and fusings. And what else, right? So stack decks, that's a no-brainer. The more you have, the better the price for, let's say, for your bulk. And we should go to another stash, which is fossils, right? So how do I sell fossils? It's pretty simple. I'm using TFT. There are some fossils that you should rather use, like shuddering, corroded. There are many crafts that you can do, like, you know, the fractured. What I have in this league, it was actually not profitable for me, and I did not craft a lot. But you can craft like some bows, some scepters, or whatever with fossils, right? There is a little bit of more steps, like prefixes cannot be changed and meta mods, etc. But overall, using your fossils is not the dumbest thing to do, and you have a lot of them, and you don't need to trade. So you only need to buy resonators, or actually keep your resonators early on, and they will, you know, you will find them anyway. So that's the point. And for how much I sell my fossils, that's usually 90%. But I'm mostly selling for what people want to buy. So I can try for 95. Nobody replies. In the next 10 minutes, I will try 90. And if nobody replies, I will sell it for 85, right? Or sell it another day. The same with scarabs. So with scarabs, you have two options. First option is to try to, you know, when you trade them, you basically know the price. Maybe you can, now you can upgrade. So maybe you can upgrade rusted to polished to, I don't know, to minimize number of trades. When you have gilded scarabs, again, you can use some harvest craft to re-roll it. Like, I don't know, there is probably There are some, yeah, this is one for 44, and if we go for Divination, this is one for 15, right? So you can see like Reliquary, maybe it's not the worst. Yeah, this is one in 40 again. So maybe you can change those cheapest one gilded into, I don't know, Divination, Expedition, or whatever people farm, right? So there will be different price for different scarabs, and instead of selling them separately, you might, I don't know, make one trade and make one big bulk of Divination and sell it for a lot, right? And everything else what you remain you can sell on TFT, or you can simply sell everything on TFT, perhaps for a bigger percent if they see you have some, you know, expensive ones, right? So that would be for scarabs. It's actually no brainer. Yeah, with bridgestones, as you can see, I haven't sold a single one, so this is what I farmed for a whole month. I did not play that much, but you know, you will have some bridgestones. So again, this shouldn't be a problem just to list it. Fragments, yeah, we don't really sell much. The offerings, maybe you should pick in first 2 weeks. Later, I filter this off. You can see I sold some divine vessels, but actually this should be filtered out as well. I still keep it so that my tests include them, because I guess you could sell them even in bulk, like 3, 4, 5. So it's like 20C rate. I stopped doing it, and nobody wants to buy them for 5C anymore. And yeah, the same with fragments. I think once you collect some, I didn't list them, so maybe I will try a strategy with using more expensive fragments to see if there is a visible difference, but that's probably barely noticeable. So I doubt it makes any sense. But yeah, you should list them if you have at least few, right? So don't sell one by one. Try to collect them before you sell. Then we will go to, let's say, less obvious. Then we have essences. So with essences, there are a few essences like essence of dread, essence of greed, contempt, and maybe some others. So what I do is sometimes I try to roll like rings, jewelry, some 6-link armors if I found one, or from divination cards or whatever. So sometimes I'm just, let's say, crafting this easily, but I did not sell much essences. However, you can see now what I do is I list it in a bulk of 90, and I set the price like 70 chaos. Maybe if I set like 60 chaos, people would ping me more, but you can see people still ping me, like now they want essence of bow for some reason. I sold today essence of contempt for 320, so I'd rather collect a lot of them, price them in a bulk of 90. Why 90? Because it's, you know, 10, right? So you don't need to think, oh, how much is 7 multiplied by 9 or whatever, right? Or 17 multiplied by 9, or you don't have time when you play Ravaged maps. Your brain is somewhere else. You just want to jump out, make the trade as fast as possible. And for some, you know, like the Envy was very popular, but it didn't sell for 1.5, so maybe it will sell for 1. You can set a price individually, right? So not that I care that much about this, but yeah, this is just a good tip. But if you wanted to sell this in a bulk, you can do this on TFT, but just have in mind that you won't sell this for, let's say, full price, but the screaming essences usually go for like 60%, maybe 55%. So that's significantly less, right? Sorry. And that's with the, let's say, stash tablets. So I don't really open my cards. I rather sell the decks, because opening cards and changing them into rewards is very time taking, and every 5 minutes per hour is like 1 divine per hour when we farm ravaged maps, right? So we don't really want to waste time on managing stacked decks. So do this only if that's something you really like, right? Because everything is important, but having fun with the game and doing stuff that you like and you enjoy is the most important, you know, above anything else. So if you want to make money, just stack decks regardless of the price. Maybe early on you can open them when they are like 1C, maybe up to 1.5C, Then what you should do is you should basically filter by full stacks and only change those currency cards, like ignore like those shitty cards that you don't want to change. Just, you know, change the currencies, sell the expensive ones, and I will show you how to do it. So instead of checking each card, oh, how much is it worth, what you should do is you should have Exilers next, you type in Divination, and then you sort it twice. First, you sort by price, because you want to see what expensive cards you have, like single cards, because the total value sometimes is misleading, especially if you open the decks. So you can see that I have a few cards that are quite worth quite a lot. I could get like 20 divines just in few trades, apparently. But then maybe you can also sort by value. And do we have like, oh yeah, it also shows us Divination, but we could of course uncheck the Scarab startup. But anyway, if you do this, so first sort by price, so the top items, I would sell everything above maybe 20-30C least. I mean, I would list all the items above 30C. Then maybe I would sort by value. So if I have a lot of cards like that are worth like 4C, like Hoarder, maybe I would wait for, let's say, full stack and exchange it into Exalted Orbs. But early on, maybe I want those 30C because I need it, right, as soon as possible. So this is up to you, but yeah, that should be enough to deal with the Divination startup and opening stack decks if you have to. That would be the one thing. So maybe a little bit about maps. So we drop a lot of maps. I filtered out basically, and early on I filter out anything up to red maps, right? So as soon as I'm running Ravaged maps, right, because not before, I would really only leave red maps. And then based on the league content, the league content was pretty shit, so I didn't really need the red maps. So I directly, let's say, filtered out. I directly went to the last step and filtered out all the maps except tier 16, right? So those are worth something. I did not have time to actually complete my access. It looks like this. So I only unlocked my Pantheon, and this is why I have some maps finished. But normally what you should do with maps, you should set the Crimson Temple or whatever map that is popular on TFT and the most expensive, set it as favorite, and, you know, get the Watchstones so this map can appear as tier 16, and then just collect it and sell it in bulk, or maybe try to list the whole startup and try to sell it like that. But I wouldn't sell like single maps, I would sell only those in bulk, right? But yeah, the favorite is really important so that you only drop those maps that you want. You will also have a lot of Orbs of Horizon, you can reroll, I don't know, you can play with it. I don't care that much, although maps are worth like 4C and you will drop a lot of them. So to be honest, it's a little bit pain in the ass, but I don't want to throw it out from my filter, as some people are using it and maybe they need those tier 16 maps. So what I do is, like, when my startup is full, I'm just selling them to vendor and keeping them in filter. So yeah, so that's with that. With Vault Temples, I set the price here, and if some people will ping you, okay, I want to buy all of them, or when somebody pings you, oh, I want to buy Vault Temple, and you ask them, okay, how many, and they say 20, 30, then it's up to you to decide whether you want to sell 20, 30, or you want to sell 70, right? If not, just sell them on TFT. That's really no-brainer, right? So then we head to gems. So the gem stash tab is pretty nice. You can set like 25C, I don't know, I would set it to your minimum threshold for a single trade, right? So when I play Ravaged maps, I wouldn't bother with trading anything under 20C. That makes completely no sense to waste, I don't know, 10, 15, 30, 1 minute, 30 seconds, 1 minute to trade any item, right? Even if it's like something like a rare item that I won't sell for the league ever. it doesn't matter, because by playing Ravaged maps you will again get your loot in this distribution, right? So 75% of your loot comes in the things that you can sell. So actually, if we calculate the profit per second, it's maybe this is not the best strategy to show, but yeah, like we have those like here, right? We have those 10 divines per hour. So if we calculate the profit per second, it will be like, I don't know, 20 C per minute or something like that. And if you calculate, okay, I will need to spend like half a minute to trade an item, maybe you are better off playing Ravaged maps, right? So it's up to you. What is your threshold? What is your profit per hour? Whether you prefer trading and getting your money, or you prefer playing more maps. So my threshold is like 20-25 C as soon as I'm playing the endgame Ravaged strategies and I have my build sorted out. So I wouldn't bother with anything below that, and I set the gems for this price. And I don't even price check the gems when I pick them up and I put them in a stash tab. So when you get spammed and people ping you on chat, what you should do, you should use like your awakened trading macro, check and price check it only then, right? So you can see that, okay, this gem is 50. So what I do is, I don't know, I take this gem out from this stash tab, put it in another stash tab, and list it for whatever it's worth, right? So like this one, yeah, it's 40 chaos, but it didn't sell. So maybe after some time, maybe, I don't know, double check the price again, change the price. Now it's maybe 30, maybe 20, I don't know, doesn't matter to me. But yeah, with gems, the stash tab is pretty useful. You can list all of them, you can store a lot of those gems. Otherwise, pricing them is a bit, let's say, boring. I probably could sell most of those for gem cutters, but as you can see, I didn't trade those in a while. So yeah, so maybe you should review this stash tab again using Exilence Next or whatever, and selling everything that is not worth, I don't know, slot in the stash tab, and sell the gem cutters instead. So that would be about the gems stash tab, and I think the more exciting one is the flask one. So what I do with flasks. So first of all, early in the league, I pick all the flasks that are eye level 85, as you can see. Maybe you can pick few when you play normal blights, try to craft something early on for your first currency to, to get stuff going on. But when you start playing Ravaged maps, you will get a lot of flasks, right? This stash tab can hold up to 500 flasks, so that's quite a lot. What I do is I identify them all before I put them in the stash tab. Then of course I'm using Orb of Augmentation on them, right? So they are all 2 mods right now, but what you should do after identifying them is just spam your scroll and apply Orb of Aug on them and keep it in the stash tab. Then set a price, I don't know, 30, 40, 50, 60 C. And when people ping you, you have 2 choices, right? So if you set this price to be like 20 C, you will get a lot of prompts and a lot of pings, and you can do 2 things. First, sell them for 20, just don't mind, and sell a lot of them. You will make, let's say, a good currency, a lot of trades, but maybe you will miss out on some really good rolls, right? So if you have like good flasks, so I don't know, like this one or this one, so I listed them, they never sold, but I sold a lot of flasks in the past. And what I did is, when somebody pinged you for a flask that you listed for like 20 C, you just again use the macro. I will use the macro, say, okay, so I don't know, imagine those offers are not there, so okay, the cheapest one is for 60, bam, I take it out from this stash tab. I have a special stash tab for my flasks, and I will say, okay, this is worth 50, and that's it. You don't trade it, right? So instead of taking 20 C right now, you want to list it for 50. So either inflation will continue to grow, and you will this will be worth 50 in the future, or somebody will ping you in few minutes, I don't know, 1 hour for 50, and you'll make more money with one trade, right? Another method is selling them right away, as I mentioned, and after a while, when you have a lot of those and they are not selling, what you can do is do a little bit crafting. So what you should do is maybe first take some transmutes, in case those are still normal rarity, not magic. You should apply transmutes on all of them. Then you should use altars. They will change their position. This is a bit annoying because they are sorted by name, and yeah, maybe you could sort by base type, so that's a better experience because they don't really jump that much. But you should apply all of alteration, just using scroll, so you don't really read mods. You don't care if you miss some, you just reroll them. You reroll all of them and you apply Orb of Oak. Don't forget about it. So they are 2 mod, and this way you can craft some good flasks. So instead of taking some diamond flasks, which are shit, and rolling them, trying to hit T1 and then price checking, oh, how much is it? Ooh, 20C. Okay, so I keep rolling. Oh, what is it? Like, I don't know, 30C, right? And etc, etc. So instead of doing this and wasting your time that you could use playing Ravaged maps, just spam this in the stash tab, so that we make a lot of money early on. Later, I was not that interested in crafting and in profiting, as my main goal is testing strategies, but perhaps you should keep your flasks in your inventory, and when you have enough of each basis, then maybe you don't need to pick more, right? Because then the flask itself is not worth anything. It's more that you only try to chance them, right? So you pick up an identified flask, you ID it, and okay, I got 2 T1 mods, right? So what you really got is a little bit lucky, 1 orb of alteration and maybe 1 orb of augmentation, right? So that's it. That's what you picked, right? So 1 click, 2 slots, 2 orbs that are worth nothing. And I don't really recommend identifying flasks and picking them from the ground when this stash tab is basically full. So again, it's better to keep some bases, try to craft them. You will be faster, more efficient, and make more money. So this stash tab is pretty cool for Ravaged maps because all the flasks drop with eye level 85 and you have chances to roll the highest mods. So then we go to, let's say, everything else. So how do I sell it, right? So I have some stash quad stash tabs, and early on what I do is I pick all the I-85 jewels and rings and amulets, and only those the best ones, right? So I think when you set your filter to level 4 or level 5, this is what it is. I don't really craft on it. You could possibly do the same, but the alks and scours are worth something, so I'm not sure if this is the way. What I did this league is I really applied Val Orb later on, but yeah, the first thing to do is basically list them for a price, put them in a stash tab. So you can see I have few of those where I drop items without thinking about them too much. I don't really read the mods. I just collect my loot, place it in a mass stash tab. I set the stash tab prices for my minimum trade threshold. So again, earlier it could be like 25, 26C, maybe 15C, maybe 20C. And again, you have 2 options. Somebody pings you about this jewel. Okay, do I want to sell it for 20C? You can quickly price check it. Oh no, it's the only one. I don't want to sell it for 20C. I want to maybe list it for, I don't know, 50C and see if it sells. If it doesn't sell, what I like to do is I like to make rows. So for instance, yeah, this is not a good example of that, but I did not really trade a lot of jewels this league. But normally what I would do is like, okay, I place like those 1 divines in this row, 2 divines in this row, 80C in this row, yeah, 50C and maybe 40C in the same row, etc, etc. So I would have like tiers, right? And after some time, when you didn't sell like those 2 divines, then you downgrade the price to 1 divine, move it down, right? So this way, it's not the most optimal one, but this is what I really do. And yeah, I'm trying to sell them for more than 20, but on the other hand, those jewels this league weren't really that expensive. There weren't enough build. Like usually we have like with ghastly jewels, necromancers are playing using a lot of them. So some leagues the meta is that they need more of those, some leagues less of those. So this league I didn't really sell them basically in that way. I was more doing the trades for like 20-30C, right? So it's up to you. You can decide. So again, either sell them for what you listed or price check them when somebody pings you, right? But please don't read the mods and think, okay, is it worth like, I don't know, 20C, 30C, 40C, 50C? Don't list them separately, just store them in a bulk stash tab. The quad stash tab is the best. Now you can, when somebody pings you, you can see the exact spot, so it's pretty easy to sell. One more thing, if you have many of those, try to set a different price for each, so you know which stash tab is right away, so you minimize your time needed for trading. And yeah, this is something you should probably only do early on. Later I would maybe rather recraft them, so scour and apply Orb of Alchemy again or whatever. So this is with jewels. What else do we have? I think that's basically it, right? So yeah, so we talked about the currency, that we should sell this in largest bulk possible. Some items are, let's say, more attractive when you sell them in a smaller bulk, like regrets. Some are more attractive when you sell them in larger bulk, like fusing stack decks, etc. And you can get a better price for it. Don't bother selling each of those stacks until they grow to a big bulk, because again, you don't need to sell all your loot. You only need to sell enough to buy next maps, next oils, and repeat. And this way you will get your mage blood faster than, I don't know, playing 50 maps, selling everything. Oh, I earned this and that much. No, you're wasting time, because you played only 50 maps, which is 5 hours of gameplay. You spend 2 hours on trading, then you play 5 hours and spend again 2 hours on trade. That makes no sense. Play for 5 hours, trade for 10 minutes, play for 5 hours, trade for 10 minutes, play for 5 hours, trade for 10 minutes. And when your Exilence next tells you, like in my case, okay, you have like, I don't know, 50,000 chaos, then you should maybe sort by value, sort by price, sell the top items, and try to, you know, make some money, make some divines, and then see if I can afford my mage blood or not, or afford my build upgrade or whatever, right? So don't really bother selling, you know, items too frequently. I would rather say the less you sell, the better you are off, right? Because there will be a point where you can sell those Awakened Sextants. Maybe you don't need to sell them early on, right? So if you check the price on PoE Ninja, you will see that early on probably you would get one divine for, I don't know, 50 of Awakened Sextant, right? And right now they are 36. So if you just won't sell them early on, even though they are quite expensive, right? So Awakened Sextants, so yeah, we can see it's like 1000 chaos, right? So for divines, so even this is worth something. Maybe it's not worth to sell 150. Wait until you have 300. So yeah, that's the currency, and everything else was as well covered. Oils are no brainer because we basically use them, so you should upgrade blacks to opals, opals to silver if you don't have silvers, and buy golden oils. Never upgrade silver to golden oil, it's not worth it. Same with violet oil, you upgrade it to crimson, and everything else should be filtered out. Teal oils, when you run out, just enable them in your filter. Otherwise, if you have, I don't know, 500 of them, just filter this out, not worth a click. So yeah, so I think that concludes everything. We talked about fossils and TFT and essences, and yeah, that's what I do. And this way, I think it's pretty convenient to play and always have some divines to buy more oils, buy more maps. And I think that was helpful to you. So thanks, and stay tuned for more videos about ravaged maps and strategies. And yeah, cheers, bye.